Once I have imagined or assumed and chosen what I desire to be, what happens next? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to feel? How do I know it happened? How do I know it's going to happen? How long? All of these questions I have answered in different videos, but today I want to wrap it all up in one little nice bow. And I want to share with you a powerful story of one of my Platinum Program clients that she gave me permission to share with you. And I want to share with you it's the most amazing unfolding that I got to watch with her. She did she worked with me in the first 6-month program, and then she said, I know there's more. And she signed up again. And in that first 6-month program, and when I'm done reading her email and sharing with you what she gave me permission to share with you, I'm gonna get into more of the questions for you to see if you are aligned to your desire. In other words, you have become and received what you said you claimed. So this person, when I first met her, she's a beautiful, wonderful person. And when I first met her, I will say she was content but sad. And she had broken up with her SP, and she really wanted to be with him again. And this is not just an SP story. This is much more. So listen for all of the light bulb moments that are going to happen in this story and in this video. So when I first met her, there were some things that she wanted professionally, financially, with her home, with her relationships. So there was different things that she wanted, and she was struggling to really crystallize them into what could they become. Like, she wasn't really sure exactly what she wanted, and she wasn't really sure how it could look. And mostly because she didn't realize how much power she had to do anything and be anything that she wanted. And that is one of the things that we focus on in my coaching, and specifically in my Platinum Program. This is what we focus on, is who you are. Because we can focus on techniques and do this, do that, say this, do that, jump up and down. But without your understanding of who you are, you will struggle. You will manifest stuff, but then you will be left scratching your head. So with her, by the end of our the first 6-month program, she had already manifested lots of money. She had manifested different things in her career. She manifested her SP, all of the things that she wanted. Okay, she was on a roll, but it wasn't easy, because while these things were unfolding, she had a hard time with things in her house. I remember one call where she said the basement was flooding, and she said, Rose, I've just never felt so alone. These are the times where I wish I had someone to go through and help me with these things. And she said, or with a snow remover or whatever. She's just like, I really wish that I had someone to share my life with that would be here with me. And she said, it's really hard. And she went through her moments of crying, of anger, frustration, not believing. She lost her first cat, and that was very difficult for her. And that was something that she was able to reconcile with. And shortly after, she lost her second cat. Her second cat died. And she was just like, you can tell that she was trying to keep shit together inside, but you can tell that she was just really fed up, frustrated. She had it and she wanted different. Then things started to unfold with her SP, and she started to want different things for herself in her career. And we started talking about her business options and what she could do for herself. That's because I talk about all these things. I don't just talk about manifesting in my coaching, right? I love working with higher level thinking clients who want more, like entrepreneurs, people that know that they already are the greatness and that they want more. And I'm not teaching people that they're greatness. They already know this. And these are the kind of people in my program. So anyway, so she manifested her person and whatnot. Then she came back for the second round, and she was going through the sale of her house, and she was looking for another house. She wasn't sure she wanted another house. She wasn't sure about the sale of the house. Everything was so confusing to her. She didn't know what direction to go in. Then she sold her house, and then the house she wanted fell through, and she was like, what the hell? Not one house, but several houses fell through, and she's like wanting to pull her hair out, not understanding what the hell is happening, because it felt like things weren't going her way. Even the sale of her house was like a bunch of obstacles. Everything was just not smooth. And I just kept encouraging her that nothing was wrong, that everything that was happening was exciting. But I get it, because as a coach, that is what I do. I encourage people and help them see things that they may not be able to see in the moment, but I know what's going on with each and every one of them, especially these that I see on a weekly basis. It's a lot easier for me to get to know them. And so she sold her house, but didn't have a house to go to. So she was like, Rose, I have like 30 days to move. And I said, cool. What are you going to do? I said, what are your options? And we started talking about those. I said, cool. Like, you literally can go anywhere you want to now. I said, you don't have the cats, you don't have the mortgage. I'm like, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to go stay with my mom because I don't have a place to live. And I said, so what? I said, maybe you rent an apartment. Maybe you go live somewhere else. Maybe you try something different. I said, this is an opportunity when you don't know. You're in the middle of that abundance. You're at 0 point, the center point of where anything is possible. I said, so recognize where you are. Enjoy it. I said, because anything can happen from there. And it was difficult for her to embrace that at first. And she was like, all right, I'm gonna think about what I want to do next. She moves in with her mom, put all her stuff in storage, and she said that was very difficult for her to see all her stuff go into storage in just a few boxes at her mom's house. And she ended up saying, I think I've always wanted to travel, and so I think it's time for me to take a vacation, because she hadn't gone on vacation even for I don't know how many years. And so she says, I'm just really fed up. I'm tired and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to look next. She says, I want to trust my own self and trust my own nudges and follow what makes me happy, no matter if it's big or small. She says, I want to lean into that and just trust what I want. And so she booked herself a vacation, and she went to Hawaii. And so she goes to Hawaii, right? And she's over there solo. Her whole family is telling her, what are you doing? You're going to go alone. That's not good. It's going to be lonely. It's not safe, all this stuff. And she even said to me later, she said people on the airplane were like, oh, are you going alone? Or, oh, that's too bad. And she says even one person at the hotel was setting up the pool chair for her to lay out. And he said, oh, it's a shame that you're alone. Like, literally everybody shoving in her face that she was alone and telling her what she didn't want to hear. And she was just like, I'm okay. I'm here for me. I'm going to go be one with nature, because that's what she loves. She hadn't done that for a while, and she wanted to do what her heart was telling her to do, and that was her thing. That was her thing, right? And so she said, this trip is about me. It's not about anything else. It's about me trusting myself and listening to what truly makes me happy. So we had our session, actually, I think on the first or the second day that she was there. And then the second day, right, then I saw her the following week. And then the second day, she told me all about what happened on the second night there. Basically, she met the love of her life. She met the man of her dreams. Well, I don't know if it's the love of her life or one of them, but she met the man of her dreams. And she met a wonderful person that gave her everything that she had been affirming with the original SP number one, who, by the way, is still in the picture, but not fully like in that, they're not married, they're not committed, right? So she now met SP2, who is showing up and giving her everything in every way she wants. Like, she was like, pinch me. She says, is this really happening? They spent the whole time together, and then they, flew home, and she's even now going back to, he lives in another state, and she's going to go meet up with him somewhere. And she said, I am so happy. And you can see her beaming. Her face is beaming with joy from the inside, right? From the inside. Not because a lot of you are saying, oh, it's because she met someone. No, she is beaming from the inside because she understands that this is not an external job, that was an internal job. All of this is about internal. That's all there is. So she wanted me to share this with you because, and I said, what do you have, any comments that you want to share with the viewers? And she said, sure. She said, I'd say the most important things are to embrace the unknown. It's where all the good stuff is. I was also doing what gave me joy and following nudges wherever they took me. I just kept saying yes to what felt good, knowing I had set my intention. She already had been very clear about what she wanted, not once, but I'm sure many thousands of times, like many of you. It only takes once, but only you are convincing yourself that you need to keep persisting and saying it, declaring it, affirming it, as if you need to convince your higher self of this. She set her intention and then followed her joy. She said, you said on the call today, this she's referring to our book club where she shared her story already. You said on the call today, I wasn't expecting anything. And that's true because I stopped trying to make anything happen. That's it. So what she's saying is when she had gone, before she booked this trip, she went without expecting anything. She didn't do it to expect to go meet a man. She didn't expect it to go find anything. She did it because she wanted to be with herself and follow her nudges of happiness, whatever those meant. And she just leaned into them and said yes. So that is what she did. And she came from many coaching in the past where affirming, visualizing, journaling, scripting. She studied Neville Goddard. She studied law of assumption, law of attraction. She studied a lot of things, and she knew that she is powerful and that she's source and she's God, right? But with her, and you see, all my clients are a little different on how I approach them. But with her, like, I knew that one of the things that she struggled with was she needed to control things. She needed to know what was happening and how it was going to happen. And then she had the little peanut gallery of her family and friends asking her questions, asking her what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So she was struggling with that. So for her to be comfortable with the unknown was very big for her. So when she got comfortable with the unknown, and she did that just by saying, you know what? One step at a time. I'm just going to focus on me, and I'm going to focus on what makes me happy in this moment, and that's it. I'm just going to listen to myself. And she got comfortable with not knowing what the hell was going on, what's happening, where is it, where's my, she left that alone, and she says, I don't know. In fact, Bashar even talked about this, and I was talking to a client about this. He said, our physical brains do not have the capacity, and nor are they wired to know how something can happen. They only know how something did happen. The brain is only able to look back and see how it happened. It's unable to see how it's happening. So trying to understand and asking questions like, but why and how and where and when, but I've done this for this long, and I've been doing this for this long, and this coach told me this, and this coach is saying this. Do you see all of that? All of that questioning keeps you trapped, keeps you stuck in the logical mind. And like I did a video a few videos ago about the logical mind, that's what it does. It analyzes. It wants questions. But have you noticed that all it does is answer, all it does is ask questions, the logical side of you. But what about this? But what about this? But what about those people? What about in this case? And what in this scenario? Have you noticed that it only knows how to ask questions, and it never gives you an answer? It just keeps pointing to things for you to keep digging and searching and asking more questions, and then you think you found something, and then you go try to fix it. And then it leaves you empty-handed because you're never gonna find the answer by asking those questions, or really all of these questions of how, why, where, when, all of those things, they're just gonna keep you stuck. When you know something, you know it. You don't ask, how do I know it? Are there any techniques or anything that I can do to know it? You're back in the logical mind. You know it or you don't know it, flat out. How do you know it? Because I know it. But how? Is it a feeling? No, I know it. Is it a thought? No, I know it. How did you get yourself to know it? I know it. I choose. I know it. I chose it. I accepted it. I know it. Do you see? Because when you know something, no one can come in and convince you otherwise. But if you tell me that you believe it, or you have faith in it, or you trust it, I can probably sit with you and convince you out of what you're telling me you believe in. I'll poke holes in it. But if you tell me that you know something, I won't be able to convince you otherwise. Just like that woman on a last video, I think, where she said, I just know deep down in my soul that he is my husband, that I am fulfilled, that I am God. I just know. And she made it very clear that it was not about feelings, and it was not about belief or faith. It was her knowing. And this same thing with this person, with this client that I'm talking about today. She knew, I set my intention already. I set my intention. I already put my communication, I put my prayer in. God and I had our little chat. There's nothing to do. What else is there to do? Because this brain's never going to figure anything out, and it's just going to ask me more questions. So she knew, what do? I'm just going to go listen to myself and just be comfortable with the unknown. So let's get into this a little bit more. All right. It says, I wrote here, so you have claimed who you desire yourself to be. You have accepted that transaction, communication, or that prayer that I talked about in my last video, was the receiving it. So again, you have claimed, so this is assuming that you have claimed who you desire to be. You have accepted that transaction, communication, or prayer was the receiving it. That was the receiving it. When you imagined it, That's when you received it. So when we imagine it, because remember, when you pray, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. And I broke down what the belief. Be glad that you received it. Be happy, be joyful, be in love that you just received what you asked for. That's when you received it. So if that's when you received it, what are you waiting for? Why are you looking at the 3D waiting to receive it? So a lot of you are saying, oh, I know, I assumed it. I know it's done. But you're still waiting for the 3D to give you something. You're still waiting for the thing to show up. That right there should tell you that you are not glad that you already received it. You're saying, oh no, I am. But now I'm looking for where it is. You already received it. You can't experience something in 3D unless you are experiencing it inside. That's the mirror reflection. You have to be that thing within and know that you are it in order for you to experience it. So the receiving it is not in the 3D. The manifestation of your desire is not in the 3D. It manifested in that prayer, in that communication between you and God. That's where it's sealed. That's where you received it. Here you go. It's yours. That's where it happened. So if you're still waiting for the 3D to show it to you, then you don't get this still. You don't understand what manifesting really is. You receive it here. And we're going to get into this further. So the receiving is not in 3D. That will keep you waiting and stuck. You already received it. You already received it. Are you good and satisfied? Meaning, now that you've done this, are you good and satisfied knowing this now? Are you satisfied knowing that you received it? Or are you still feeling a hole? Are you still feeling lag? Are you still wondering where it is? Are you still not fulfilled? Are you still missing your SP? Are you still wondering where it is? Are you still wondering where the money is? Are you still fearful? Are you wondering where the money's going to come from? Are you staring at your bank account? All that should tell you right there that this is not you. Do you see it? So still waiting to see it okay, or are you still waiting to see when it manifests? So are you good, satisfied knowing that you already received it? Or are you still waiting to see when it manifests? You guys can say whatever you want. You can say the perfect affirmations, the perfect words. You can do all of that, but you can't fool the universe. You can't fool God. You can't fool your higher self. So you can sit there and say that, I did. And then you secretly start peeking out the window, wondering where it is. Do you see? It's you either received it or you didn't. You either received what you wanted or you didn't. It's either you're in or you're out. Well, sometimes I do. This is one of my favorites in sessions. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel so good and then something happens and it knocks me out. It didn't knock you out. You knocked yourself out. In fact, it started back with you still don't understand the foundational principle of what's happening here, that you received it within. The manifestation already took place within reality. I'm going to say this again. The manifestation already took place within reality. That's the spiritual, your mind. That's in the plane, the spiritual plane, the mind, the physical mind. I'm sorry, the mind. And we're going to get into this, okay? The mental plane. That's what I was trying to say. So when you manifested it, that happened in reality. See, we have this backwards. You look at your 3D and say, that's reality. The 3D is not reality. It's the reflection of reality. Whew. The 3D is a reflection of reality. Your reality, imagination, awareness, consciousness, that's reality. The 3D is a reflection of reality. So why the hell would you wait around in 3D to receive it there? That's not ever going to happen. You'll keep waiting, because the 3D is only the reflection of reality, and your reality. Your imagination is reality. Awareness of being is reality. What you do in imagination is not just a fluffy little pipe dream. That's reality. That's creation. And that's what I want to share with you guys here. So in a lot of spiritual teachers talk about this, that there's 3 planes that we master while we're here. And that's the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the physical plane. So let's look at these closer, okay? So the spiritual plane is God. It's all identities, all versions of you, okay? And it's also the how. That's God, all right? That's you. Remember, you're all of it. And so 3 are in the 1. You are all 3, okay? That's the Trinity. In the mental plane, that's the mind, the consciousness, right? It's where you perform the act, the imaginal act of receiving it, right? That's the mental plane, is the cause. There is not one, and Neville Goddard said, there's not one little thing that you can turn around and look at and say that didn't first begin in mind. Everything first began in mind. It all begins in mind. Everything about how we manifest is in mind. It all begins in mind. In what mind? In the mind of God, that Christ consciousness. That's the only cause. Every couch, every person, every pencil, every kitty cat, everything first was an act in mind. So we have the physical plane. Okay, remember there's the three planes. Then we have the physical plane, and that's the 3D. That is the effect. The 3D is the effect of the cause. So we have the 3D, and that's the effect of the mind. So the physical, where the senses take place, where you experience the reflection of your mind, that's what you guys are waiting around and looking at, hoping that you'll see something different. You're like, well, I did it in here. When is it going to come? You still don't understand that you already got it. You already got it. So the mental plane is in communication. See the double arrows? The mental plane and the spiritual plane that's where prayer takes place. That's where the agreement between you and your higher you, or source, or God, takes place. So it's between you and the spiritual plane. That's what happens. When you imagine, when you affirm, when you assume, that's what's happening. It's between the mental plane and the spiritual plane. Notice the physical plane's not even in the party here. It's not even here. It's like, that's the relevance it has. That's how much power it has. The mental and the spiritual plane communicate. That's you and God, okay? So, however, because whatever you ask for, your Father will reward you openly, like the scripture says, right? So the spiritual, remember, is the how, and the spiritual is the one that pulls into the physical. The spiritual does the how you're going to see it reflected. Not you. This is where you are choosing your consciousness, your free will, your awareness of what you want, right? And the physical, you're not doing it. It's the spiritual aspect of you that is pulling it into physical 3D. So you are here, we're all here to master all three planes. You're not here just to master the spiritual and remain God and holy, and you have to be pure and you can't cuss. Like I was talking to another client the other day, and he was like, I'm afraid to cuss because I don't want to be offending anyone. And I said, say the word fuck. It's no big deal. Being spiritual has nothing to do with what you say, what you eat, what you wear, what you do. It doesn't matter if you don't have to light incense in your house all day long and eat vegan and not cuss and meditate 5 hours of the day so that you can then be spiritual. I said, what do you get out of that? What actually is your reality changing? Are you getting everything you wanted from all that spirituality? If you are, awesome. If you're not, you might want to reconsider what the word spiritual means. First of all, you don't have to be spiritual. Spiritual just means spirit. It means God. But God, a lot of you are confusing this. Even like Abdullah told Neville, when Neville said, why are you drinking so much and you're smoking and eating and all this stuff? And Abdullah says, you can't do what I do because you have too many quibbles. In other words, you're too picky. You have all your little beliefs of, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, you can't do this, you can't. So it doesn't matter. If I want to drink like a sailor, right, and I want to cuss all day long, who cares? That doesn't make me not God-like. That doesn't make me God. In fact, that is God. Me cussing is God. Me having whatever I want to eat, that's God too. It's all God. It's all holy. Name one little thing, like I said before, even Neville said this. Name one little thing that was not first created in the mind. Remember, mind is spiritual. It's with God. So how can anything not be spiritual? How can anything not be spiritual? Because it all begins in mind, and that's the Christ mind. It's only your judgment of the things is why you say, oh no, that's not spiritual. That's not spiritual. Oh no, that behavior is not spiritual. It's all spiritual, all of it, because it's all God. That's all there is. Okay, so I love this from John 1:3. All things are made by such agreements, and without such agreements, there is not anything made that is made. What are the agreements? When do those happen? Right here, between the mental plane, your consciousness, and God. When you pray, when you assume, when you imagine, all things are made by such agreements. All things, every single thing is made in that agreement. And until you accept that this is how it is, it's like a foundational understanding. You're still going to be searching for techniques and how, but I don't care. I just want my stuff. You're just going to constantly be in a little hamster wheel. And this is a quote from Neville Goddard. This knowledge will sustain you through the necessary interval of time that it takes the picture to unfold. What knowledge is he talking about? This, that it's between you and source. You and source, when you have that imaginal act, that prayer, that is a transactional agreement. There's a sender and a receiver. You send, God, source, receives and executes this into the 3D. That's how it is. Who are you or me or anyone to question how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen? Again, Neville's telling you, this knowledge will sustain you. But if you're not even willing to know that that's how it is, I accept this is how it is. Nope, I know. It's all, I already have what I want. I don't need to know anything else other than that. I don't need to know how, the when, none of that. But a lot of you will say that, and then you'll turn around in like a week, 2 weeks, 10 days, a month, or whatever. And you'll say, well, it's been this long. And Neville, I remember him answering someone similar to that. He said, what are you doing right now? Why are you not being that person you desire to be? Why are you complaining to me? Why are you complaining? Who told you to not be? Who told you? Do you see? So the knowing, the knowledge of knowing, there's an order. There's an order. Everything begins in mind. It's between the agreement between you and God. That is it. So that knowledge that will sustain you, going back to my client, she got comfortable with the uncertainty. She says, I got comfortable with being uncertain, with not knowing how or when. I got comfortable. She didn't use a technique. She didn't meditate. She didn't force herself and affirm it. I'm comfortable now. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable. It wasn't about what she said. It's about her understanding that I know I set my intention, and now I'm going to focus on me and what brings me joy, because the rest is none of my business. I can't figure this out no matter how hard I try. My only job is to be that version, that identity that I said I am. And if you haven't watched my video on moving to the identity that you desire to be, you need to go watch it, and I'll pin it here, because this video and these last two videos, rewind, repeat, you guys, rewind, repeat. And I want to see in the comments your summaries, your light bulb moments from this video as well. You guys are doing amazing on the last one where I asked you guys to do those. And I can't tell you how many of my clients have said they're so grateful that you guys are writing your summaries. It's not full of complaints and whining. It's about you guys understanding this right here. This knowledge will sustain you. That's what you're doing. You summarize it in there. You're taking your own takeaways. You're writing your own light bulb moments, and everybody else is fed from those. So if you're one of those who's reading them and consuming it, you need to include yourself, include and share. Don't just come up here and take. Give. Because those who give, more they will be given. So give. Give is receiving. It goes both ways. Okay? So I intend this video was helpful, and I just love it so much. I love her story so much. You guys, I got to watch it unfold from the beginning into where she's at now, and she's just like, that girl is like, is this really happening to me? It is just so incredible to watch how it happened with her. And that's just a beautiful thing, right? And she was determined. She's like, no. She's like, I'm determined. I remember when I first met her, she's like, no, I'm determined. I want my life to be completely different. And she went for it. Yeah, did she invest in herself? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you guys something now. If you were to ask her if she cares about how much she invested in herself working with me, if she cares, she'd be like, hell no. Hell no. And I asked her, I said, how much YouTube videos are you watching? How much are you? She says, none. Do you see? She stopped trying. She stopped trying to make it happen. Once you know this, you don't need to be watching a bunch of videos. You don't need to keep it up. Because how else are you going to know what brings you joy and nudge if you're just constantly glued to the screen, watching more content or reading more content, if that's all you do? You know when you're ready to drop the videos and drop the studying, you know. Because once you do that, now you're going to be with your own energy. And how are you going to know that you're not in this desperate mode, needy mode, wanting mode, if you're just glued to the screen? And you want to realize, you want to feel that so you can say, aha, aha, that's who I'm really being. I'm affirming and visualizing, but that's who I'm really being. That's who I really pegged myself to be. And go watch that video on those identities, because I go into great detail on what's going on when you're shifting from one version of one identity to another identity, right? It's instant, but you also have to learn how to play the game of these identities because you're none of them. You are above all identities. You don't need an identity. You don't need none of them. You're just here to play with them. But who you really are, you're above them. You're greater than all of the identities there are. They're all within you. All right, my loves, thank you for watching and thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.